Welcome to another quantum conversation. Rock, talk, keep it calm. I'm Galey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibility, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. And welcome, everyone. This is another episode of QCTV, and I am joined today with Tracey Ash. This is going to be a conversation on avatar training, and it's so beautiful because Tracey Ash is really an avatar in her own sense. So let's welcome Tracey Ash to Quantum Conversations. Welcome here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure.
You have followed the call of your heart to go to sacred sites around the world. And so we're going to learn a little bit about that. The last time we spoke to you, you taught us so much about the ET realm and the galactic realm. And so here we are on 2020. 2020 is upon us. We're already in the energies of it. So share with us a little bit about the insight that you've received lately.
Wow. I mean, it's completely ongoing. I'm working pretty hard at the moment in terms of working with and opening the 7 gateways through and to the central sun. That preparation is all about anchoring and locking into the planetary grid. And it's here where we can really lock down a greater intelligence. So we're looking at the planetary grid, we're looking at the earth chakras, we're looking at ancient monuments, and these sites and these monuments going live over a matrix in terms of the planetary grid. And in terms of our work as light workers and in terms of our sacred calling, we're being asked to work in unprecedented ways. And that's extraordinary in itself. So since I last spoke with you, I've been working on a new book as well. So I've been working on Wound Weaver, and that's pretty interesting too, because that formidable work is also about what we need to look at within ourselves on an extraordinarily deep level and on a frequency level, also in terms of not only this lifetime, but lifetimes of wound that we now need to recalibrate. Now, this ties in with the ascension, it ties in with the planetary grid, it ties in with us becoming keys in a greater purpose, in a greater picture. There are so many interwoven threads in terms of what it means. In terms of contact, I mean, we premiered Shasta Full Fleet UFO footage in New York last autumn. And the next day we were in the United Nations. We were invited to the United Nations based on the Shasta footage. So we're getting really close in terms of ascension being acknowledged, disclosure. I've just got back from Japan, and I did a interview for a mainstream tabloid which reaches 1 million readers, and it was an alternative interview going live, going mainstream. And so since then I've been invited in Japan to be represented, and that's going to take me into being able to really mobilize my message on mainstream TV. and mobilize the community, particularly in Japan, where there are some extraordinary researchers, light workers, evolutionaries. So currently, I feel that the current theme for your listeners is how we're all beginning to be mobilized, that the awakening is here, our unique pathways of destiny are keys, and those keys come together so that we can play the most extraordinary tapestry of reality. And it's taken us into being able to really unplug ourselves from the false matrix and the density of it, and of course the entanglement with it too. So we have multi-strands, we have very strong awareness to very much honor and regard in terms of distractions, manipulations, events that are, of course, being manipulated by the old power. But the message currently is one of immense hope, because we're coming into our sacred contracts once again. Now, also, since I last saw you, I also was in Egypt, and back out in autumn 2019, 2018, autumn 2018, sorry, corrected. I was called to the Great Pyramid to receive massive download. I'm a channel, as you know, but not a conventional channel. I wait, I listen, and I open myself up to the dimensional intelligence that wishes to work with me. And that information given in the Great Pyramid created an experience where the first generator goes out in the Great Pyramid and we get blackout. Then the second generator kicks in. Then we get total blackout. And we are in the King's Chamber for 2 hours receiving this incredible download, messages to humanity, messages in terms of the planetary grid, what we have to do in terms of our work. As you know, I work really closely with my husband, and we came together because we have an absolute shared passion about stargates and how opening the stargates is the way to save the planet, is the way to save humanity. And when we step into these stargates, and when we're primed and we're prepared in terms of ascension processes and evolutionary processes, we're accessing multi-dimensions, we're accessing multi-timelines, we're accessing all timelines, which means we can access all the stories of humanity, and we can access the truth, and we can access the gateways to creator and the dimensional intelligence that are indeed the guardians of our planet and the guardians of our earth and humanity. And then also, as we shift our frequency, and this is important because the seeding of humanity is laid down in Egypt, of course, and that seeding of humanity brings forth our sacred contracts, and that's so deeply associated with Sirius. And again, with this change in frequency, which is now being accelerated within those who hold those sacred contracts. I mean, these are ancient contracts, as you know. Our memories are being rebooted in terms of who we are, who we were, what the theme of not only a lifetime is, but the theme of lifetimes. So the light workers of the planet, currently the 144,000, those individuals are the individuals who have held the sacred contracts of humanity, the sovereign contracts of humanity for eons of time, since the beginning of time on this planet. So we're in a gobsmacking time in terms of reality. There is a massive opening in terms of gateways, in terms of opportunities, in terms of syncing with these sacred contracts and syncing with other kindred sacred beings on the planet that we know, that we acknowledge, that we remember. So our contracts currently can be extraordinary in terms of our soul flames, and those soul flames can show up as incredible friendships, incredible community, and incredible individuals who just know you and show you the way to who you are. So there are so many extraordinary revelations on so many different dimensions currently. So it requires an extremely comprehensive approach. And it means that we must undertake incredible preparation in terms of our energy systems, in terms of our hearts, our minds, and we must engage with the very purpose of our physicality and our hearts and our minds, so that we can download the next phase of our evolution. So it's tantalizing, and of course, so many of my students and so many of your listeners were navigating, of course, the brakes being placed on in terms of evolution, the last final attempt of the elite power. Of course, it will not stay locked in place for so long. However, there are some hijacks that we need to navigate. And again, this is all centered around disclosure. It's all centered around artificial intelligence. It's centered actually also around our contracts and who is legitimate in terms of sacred and sovereign, and who are the timeline chasers, etc. So it's quite a dance at this time. So I've been working on this since childhood. As you know, I came in having immense questions on the quantum nature of our reality and who we are, and how I entered into teaching myself to meditate at a very early age in order to control my reality and to really work with and master my own reality and also fears by utilizing light. So my work as an avatar, my work as a warrior of light has been fixed into place for almost 5 decades. So, yeah. So it's my life and it's my lifetimes, and I have a strong thread of memories that consistently reminds me of who I am and what I'm here to create and achieve in this particular lifetime. And these are fascinating times where I believe your listeners should be looking for the guides that are solid and genuine and legitimate in terms of evolution and ascension. So we got to move forward in terms of wound. because trauma creates the distortions in the field, which impacts the level of your metaphysics and your awareness and your truth facilities and your ability to filter the truth also. So once we wound weave, we're back in our bodies, which, as the ancient Egyptians always understood and always described, ascension is about living here on the planet, and it's about complete embodiment, which turns around soft spirituality or pop spirituality, and it takes it into its legitimate place again, center stage, and at the heart of our life pathways and at the heart of our communities. It's important times.
Thank you so much for updating us on, wow, this great download from Egypt that you received. So I want to share, I want to ask you a few things about the UN representation where you were asked to go to the UN. The video that you shot, you got video of UFOs over Mount Shasta. And when you went to the UN, what did they say? What did they want you to talk about?
Well, listen to this. Well, we met, you and I, because of that particular footage. And you were like, wow, she's the new kid who's doing the combination of ascension and contact together.
And a much needed bridge, a much needed bridge.
Yeah, I totally agree. And with a completely non-political stance on it. I mean, it's all about truth and that's it. So I was invited to be on the panel at New Life Expo in New York. And I showed the film and I start speaking about the pathways of humanity and the return to, of course, the divine feminine. And that brought me into discussions around Egypt and, of course, Sekhmet and the lion beings and Sirius, etc. I've been to Egypt maybe 70 times. I mean, it's such a profound part of my work. But in the audience was a UN representative. And she came to me immediately and was so excited about the contact film. I was so excited about consciousness and what that means for the planet, that she on the spot invited us for a private tour. Given that this representative has worked in the area of terrorism, so it was quite an interesting meeting in terms of her own journey with her work in the UN. But as you know, I believe we're being primed for contact. You know, she's not the only UN representative that has invited me to the UN. I've also in Japan been working closely with another UN delegate, and she's been training with me. So the news the news on that is that in one capacity or another, there are discussions taking place.
Yes.
Those in places are indeed opening their eyes to the legitimate work. And so the UN delegate representing Japan has also spoke with me in terms of creating a think tank of some of the finest minds in Japan so that young people can indeed be empowered. So in terms of a project, then we're starting to far reach in terms of legitimate work. And we're starting to be taken seriously by those who know that there needs to be another way. And
Yes.
I'm particularly fortunate. I've been honored by PSI Japan, which is a science institute with scholars, the equivalent of Oxford, Cambridge. So, and I've also been researched by the Emoto Foundation. So I have high caliber researchers that are willing to work with me. I'm very willing to work with research, and I've always had a massive interest in working with hugely conventional fields. So it takes us back to something that underpins our whole movement, and that goes back several centuries, a good couple of centuries. It takes us into the foundations of the work and where it was set up in terms of the UK and the US, and how our arena was set up with contact, of course, and spirit contact, spirit communication. So the very early experimental mediumship and the channels of those days. So Blavatsky, Alice Bailey, Edgar Casey, etc. Those grandmothers, grandfathers of our movement, they set up hugely legitimate work, and their work was long lasting and high impact in terms of a larger world. So my work is really inspired by those cornerstones and those legends. And for me, the work has always been about proving that metaphysics needs to be firmly put into the heart of our world, and it's metaphysics that can change the world at extraordinary rates. So if we have incredible pioneers and influential individuals being trained in metaphysics, we can change the fate of what is currently happening on the planet, and we can reverse the effects of the false matrix and toxic patriarchy. Mm-hmm. And, these are exciting times. So that's some insight in terms of what's happening. It's all getting lined up in terms of the correct connections are falling into place in terms of contracts with authentic and genuine individuals, regardless of community or background. There's a formidable tribe on this planet who cares.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone who watches a show like this is absolutely a new earth creator, what I call a new earth creator, and actually on a level of ambassadorship. So beautiful. Well, there's a couple of ways I want to talk here in this conversation because it's absolutely fascinating. But I want to give a little plug here about our after party for today. So this is QCTV. We were talking about this year being a big year for upgrades, and we're all feeling that. Many of us are getting downloads, and what do we do with these downloads? How do we act on these downloads? You're getting the downloads, right? And so this is why we're doing a New Earth community, and it's a platform to support the ideas and the creations and the conversation about how we really anchor in New Earth living. It's totally heart-centered. And so I'm going to show a quick item on my screen here because our New Earth community is available for everyone to join us. For those who need the support, for those who would like that community, then it's available to you. So there's a link on the screen here. and it gets us into after parties. There's after parties on these QCTV episodes that allow you to share your experience, your New Earth integration experience with my featured guests here on QCTV. So join in at bit.ly/QCTV membership. Check out that link. There's 2 ways to join our community, and we invite you to get on with your New Earth game. We're all very excited. And as you said, Tracey, we are mobilizing. We are absolutely mobilizing New Earth right now. So thank you. Join us for today's after party, and you can ask Tracey some questions. So thank you for that, Tracey. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, let's go first to contact, because that's such a juicy subject. We have people reporting in meditation, they are actually experiencing contact. So is this the way that contact is going to come? And what is a protocol that you could advise if it's that situation, that experience?
Protocol is really interesting, isn't it? I mean, if we follow the C5 protocol, I don't think it is enough.
C5,
so,
explain that.
Yeah, as in our communities, in our contact communities, there are certain guidelines in terms of how to create contact. I believe some of the most important preparations, we must be hugely anchored, we must be hugely grounded. It can be helpful if we're working at a particular gateway. It can be also helpful if we are working with others who are also supporting that vision or a resonance with that particular vision as well. I have something quite interesting. When I do contact, I get time, date, and location. And I also am working with dimensional aspects of my own consciousness. So I'm a time traveler. And in terms of that, the contact that does indeed need to arrive here on the planet to be mobilized to, because of course it's not just us mobilizing, it's also the universal, the dimensional guardians who are mobilizing too. We must be clear in terms of the way we utilize our free will, and we must be clear in terms of the way we set ourselves up in quality meditation first, quality alignment, and then we must be clear with our agendas. So the clarity in terms of our intention, attention, and perhaps we can utilize writing down our intention on a regular basis. But in terms of contact, I think contact teams are an exceptionally good idea. I've had contact on the ground with craft. I have dimensional contact. I have downloads. I have incredible information that is gifted to me in terms of what comes next in terms of the ascension of the planet. But none of it comes on a regular basis unless you are responsible and dedicated. So, for example, I've got 40,000 sessions as a sensitive, as a channel. I have multiple schools. I've worked in this arena developing and creating programs for the last 20 years. So I'm a highly experienced meditator. I'm a highly experienced experiencer. I spend a lot of time at sites, and I spend a lot of time mobilizing skywatchers. I have equipment such as laser beams. We were out in the White Desert recently. I mean, talk about priming for contact. So we take a Jeep, and there's maybe 4 of us, a campfire and 1 guide. And I start meditating maybe 8 or so hours before the contact in the evening. So there's a lot of priming that takes place. I do a lot of ceremony. I work the land. I'm a planetary grid worker. And I started to utilize my laser. Now, the contact that I work with, it's very complex. It's very advanced. There's interaction. The ship started to come into land based on following the laser. And I mean, it came in so close. So we're so close to that on the ground contact. I mean, it's quite extraordinary. And I've got that particular contact footage. I've got it. I can't keep up enough with how much footage I have, because I'm traveling maybe once, twice a month to pivotal gateways across the planet. So my best advice to individuals is to work on self. That part is extraordinarily important, because your frequency will manifest and attract. And also your frequency is the key in terms of initiation into gateways, dimensions, etc., etc. So it's not as straightforward as I wish, therefore I manifest. So our initiation processes must be very carefully understood. You know, as you know, I have a mystery school. I'm a metaphysician. We train people in mystic arts and spiritual warfare. I mean, contact for me is the surest way to upgrade individuals into the most extraordinary ascension and evolution. As long as you're in a group that is hugely supportive. For me, it's not about being in a contact community, taking out my little book and saying, okay, I saw 5, 6 ships last night. I'm not particularly interested in being a train spotter. I'm much more interested in what happens in these interactions. And I mean, wow. You have to be ready for that interaction, because the intelligence is of biblical proportions. And you need a very steady and very strong field. So to have metal, I believe.
Yes.
Because that fearlessness is hugely important, or we would have been having contact much more progressively and at a much more increasing rate in terms of on a collective or a mass or a mainstream level. So we're at tipping points currently in terms of the frequency of planet, and holding our frequency is very much part of opening the dimensional contact, which is really key. And that really then takes you into hugely rapid dimensional shifts, time shifts, consciousness shifts. I mean, and then we're not talking about the ascension. We're completely in it. We are it. And that allows us to totally unplug ourselves from the false matrix and reality as we have known it in the false matrix. So, you know, one of the keys with this is the key signposts on this is, okay, if you're still locked in the false matrix and you're still attaching yourself to false matrix systems, beliefs, etc., question your experiences, because the legitimate contact experiences is going to make you say, I am not buying into the false matrix ideas, ideals, systems, and I totally understand the frequency distortion of the false matrix, and I am not in. So it's kind of interesting in our communities because, of course, you know, we swing through and we're all looking at finding our chords. I mean, it's kind of it's an interesting time in terms of holding center. But we can't stand somewhere in between ascension and somewhere with our fingers still in the pie of the false matrix. So it's got to be a really strong, definitive, yeah, this is a new reality. This is New Earth. These are New Earth individuals. This is my tribe. These are the people I'm going to mobilize with. And with that, you get the tipping points. And then you get the kind of contact, which is like, oh, this is why I've always believed that my path is spiritual. So you completely experience everything that has ever been written in a spiritual book, in a new age book that is credible, that you've been dreaming of manifesting yourself. So we move from the data and the hope and the aspirations and the inspirations, and we're moving into this live and tangible. We're plugging into a completely different matrix, and that one is a matrix that magnetizes dimensional intelligence to you. And that means that we're not alone in terms of who we are as a species or who we are as individuals. And for those of us who are star seeds and who are indigos and indigo forerunners, then that dimensional shift also allows us to know that we belong on this planet, whilst also firmly opening the gateways that allow us to maneuver our sense of being homesick in terms of our origins. So we have this trans-dimensional, intergalactic intelligence and reality available to us. And then we can really start to really mobilize and really create an incredible footprint in our lives. And that is about unique destiny. And contact teaches us these things, that it is, for hell, sure, no way we are living generic lives based on the third dimensional timeline. Because if it's that low frequency and it's that dull, it's not ascension. Yeah, so we got to be really smart. I mean, we're going to be releasing the book that we did last year. I mean, I've been so busy, we haven't even had time to kind of shape it and put it out there. It's just in terms of, you know, creating a date, a gateway where we can get the publicity, because we're just so busy with the planetary work and training individuals and I am always waiting for the signs, so I don't go anywhere unless I'm asked. So I don't just choose to go to these sites. It's all based on listening, dimensional contact, dimensional channeling. I mean, my whole life is lived in this way. I mean, I don't make any third dimensional decisions. I'm not looking for where the next place is. So everything's synced and timed. And when we're working at that level, I mean, we're gliding, we're sliding into the opportunities, the contracts, the manifestation, the next download that is going to completely reset our physicality, our physical energy, our heart and our minds. So we're consistently upgrading, and that's taking us into, again, something extraordinary, because of course we need to be built for the ascension too. And I mean, as warriors, we have to be so built for what comes next, because we are in the firing line in terms of the false matrix. I mean, it's not going to get any harder than it is now. So I think it's amazing that you're creating the New Earth community. I see one thing that is really problematic with people on the internet. They can be too attached to 3D learning. Mm-hmm. And it can be all about knowledge that's learned via YouTube, etc., etc. But where you've got community, you've got a way of really handling the quality of training, the quality of information that individuals are accessing to. So you can steer individuals to higher and better quality levels of ascension and higher and better qualities of information as well. It's one of my big things, actually, that those seeking actually are gifted the correct information, the correct training programs, because our industry is also in a deconstruct and a rebuild. And it's time that we recognize that, and in being very clear about what is and what is not, then we navigate our way better and we secure the ascension, but we also secure the ascension for a lot more people than just ourselves. So that community that you're creating, it hasn't really got so much to do with you. It's much more about your service to others. I know that's why we resonate so much in terms of our values as light workers. Yes. It's such important times.
And it's important to come together and create New Earth. And so I want to have you talk a little bit more about this planetary grid, what you call the new planetary grid, how we step off of the old matrix. I mean, nowadays I can look at many things and see the system. My son just went into college, and oh my gosh, that's a system too. The financial control over tuition and student fees and the PhDs. Then you can go work at the university because you've gotten A's on all their studies, right? So I can see that matrix. And so we have about 20 more minutes here in our show. So maybe this could be a process that actually helps us fully anchor into the new planetary grid. But it goes back around to what you said about contact. We need to have our vibration high enough. We need to be embodied. This is ascension in the physical body. So we're embodying our soul. We're making that soul connection. Is that the planetary grid when enough of us do that and then come together?
It's an interesting point. Number one, our destiny, our mission, our purpose. So this is all about time it's all about this time. And with more of us on the same page in terms of sacred destiny, mission, contribution, evolution, that also aligns us or mobilizes us as a tribe that is synchronistic. And that's hugely important, so that each one of us is not only anchored and grounded together as a tribe, we're anchored and grounded, and we're utilizing the gravity of the planet to really engage in creating this new earth grid. So it's very much about waking up in terms of the sacred technologies, what the ancients understood. So the sacred technologies, how the ancients fully understood the implications of the earth as a sacred technology. And once we understand that, then we also understand that the sites are magnifiers in terms of the planetary grid, and certain sites are stargates, which then also at the same time not only take us into understanding the planetary grid, but the universal matrix itself. And that becomes extraordinary. So the new planetary grid is fixed in time, as in this now. So we mobilize as warriors of light, and we have got the most extraordinary work to do. I mean, to mobilize and resonate, synchronize, and then truly, truly, truly resonate with immense harmony, because we are choosing to discard the false matrix, and we're choosing to live our lives in that high frequency drive of our sacred destiny. I mean, that's when we throw off the stereotypes, we resolve the wounds, we resolve the low density values, the low density qualities, the low density attachments, thoughts and feelings, which all deny us access to this incredible planetary grid. It's all in place. So the ancients left us these incredible monuments for the future. And those future technologies are here to assist us now as the prophecies forecast. So we have so much help, interdimensional help, dimensional help, intergalactic help. We've got the ancient ones who are showing us the way within the context of their formidable architecture. And with that in mind, with sacred contracts being synced as we signed up for them long ago, we have a planetary grid that is to be reckoned with. And of course, the elite power is so terrified because there is nothing that can be done to stop this, partly due to the contracts, because the contracts are such that is not down to an individual. It's a mobilization, it's a collective evolution. And with that, the planetary grid is in place, and we are resurrecting the sacred and sovereign grid of the planet, which means humanity is about to rise like a phoenix.
That's immensely hopeful. It really is really feeling good. So this is why all of us are hearing the call of our heart and stepping up in a beautiful way. Wow.
And you can feel it. This is a grid you can feel. And again, the signposts with that, it's like you feel it, you know it, it resonates. The signs are all there. The path is being gifted, and it's go on, go on, go on. And where you have that level of momentum, I mean, you're stepping then into the planetary grid that is, of course, the 0 point, the void. It's the first house of metaphysics. I mean, it is metaphysics manifest in our daily lives. It is metaphysics returned to the average and the conventional human being. So it's a crazy time. So whatever we're doing in this arena, it has to now be upgraded. So it's not enough to have intuition any longer. I mean, we're looking at incredible experiences of alchemy, sacred alchemy, cosmic alchemy, dimensional shifts, memories of our past lives, memories of our future. You know, that's been something that's been hugely important for me, because the planetary grid and locking into it really allows you that ability to really move your consciousness and to really, really, really move your ability to understand who you are dimensionally through the timelines, through your lives, your incarnations, your future lives. This is all stuff Akhenaten spoke about. And that's why his evolution and his ascension was brushed under the carpet. Mm-hmm. You know, Egypt is such a key in terms of understanding the false matrix and separation, and then moving into the ascension and understanding where it happened and how it happened. You know, and this is interesting too, because of course we've had cosmic wars, which have also distorted, and some of the stargates, you know, there's been cosmic wars over Egypt. We saw that when we were in the White Desert just in June. We were following some research. My husband is a Rosicrucian, and he's a mystery school initiate too. So we're kind of, we're quite a team together in terms of our journeys and what we experience and how we research. We're looking for Atlantis, you know, and sure enough, we do find it. I mean, we followed the instructions of Plato. It's as described as the eye in Northern Africa. So we've located the details of it. I mean, Lauren, no one else has actually been able to do this work.
So do you have to get off the beaten path when you're going through Egypt there in the White Desert? So be careful. I will have to say, be careful.
I am. I'm extremely protected. We have security. You know, there's been a mass hysteria also around Egypt too. So I've been working there. I was there during the revolution. I never stopped going. I have an immense love of Egypt, and Egypt's called me to share her secrets.
And so you said you looked to Egypt to see how the false matrix was installed. We just have a few more minutes, but can you talk a little bit about that? What happened with, so Atlantis, right? So Egypt was from Atlantis. So kind of connect the dots here.
I'm connected. Okay, I'll try and connect the dots. In terms of the false matrix, what we see is massive manipulation, especially over the last couple of centuries. So it's intensified. But Egypt became such a key fascination in our spiritual movement at the end of the 19th century, the 20th century as well. So in terms of the false matrix, so much of Egypt and the artifacts were indeed housed by the false matrix and the powerhouses that control and dominate the false matrix too. So certainly some of that sacred power has been utilized for control. And again, there's some truth in terms of utilizing the data, the intelligence, the technologies of ancient Egypt to tear down the false matrix. So Atlantis, I'm just going to drop back into it. We saw evidence of the cosmic wars being played out across the White Desert. I mean, for miles and miles and miles, we saw debris of meteorites, really interesting metal artifacts, metal debris. I mean, there was a massive cosmic war collision over Egypt. You can see there was a cosmic war fought out. So you can just walk through the desert and pick up meteorites and metal debris. Actually, I've got one here. So the metal is really extraordinary. So the white desert becomes black. So we can look at Egypt in terms of it's already hit a massive evolutionary peak, massive ascension peak, which particularly 18th, 19th dynasty, that's when that peak dips. So you don't have the same extraterrestrial guides. You have the invasion of Egypt from the Greeks and the Romans. And that's where patriarchy really starts to invade the sovereignty and the incredible sacred feminine that's been at the center of the initiation processes, ceremonies. I mean, ancient Egyptian life itself. Without the queen, without that goddess energy, without sacred earth, we lose the planetary grid because we lose our connections with ourselves and we lose our awareness and we lose our home, which is the planet. So we have a fair few centuries of losing that connection to make up. Yes? So it's now where awakening to what we've lost, and there's a return to the sacred and sovereign, divine masculine and the divine feminine, and understanding how those pathways need to be awakened and initiated so we can remember our history and correct the mistakes that we've made in our previous histories and our previous stories. And this isn't something that I'm driving at within the context of just randomly speaking about it. This is all depicted in the prophecy of the Dendera zodiac. The ancient Egyptians left the message for the future as depicted in the Dendera zodiac. So it's a formidable journey of research, both in terms of the architecture, the artifacts, the texts, but also when we're aligned in the planetary grid, then we're accessing the data as it happens. I mean, so we're not in any false information because we're direct accessing the truth. And those technologies, which they are, for example, like the Great Pyramid, they store and have stored the entire history of humanity. So the downloads are extraordinary if we can look into the planetary grid at these incredible gateways and these incredible sites. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's huge, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Because it revolutionizes learning, yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing that you listen to the call of your heart and that you know this and that you and your husband know the way to really change the world is to open these stargates. So that's what you do. Amazing. Thank you. I want to talk about ways that you can help people in our community with this knowledge. And there's a couple of things here. So I'm going to pull up my screen again and share that this is a special offer from you. Here at the bottom lower right hand of the screen, there's a special offer that you are including for our listeners and our viewers today. This is your role to assist, and you are a great guide. You are a guide that activates a sovereignty in people, let's say, to be initiated into their sovereignty. And your special offer, it's a couple of things. One is a online healing retreat 3-session webinar series that we did with you. And this one was on stargates. And so for those who have questions about stargates, we go deeper into this. And that is all recorded and available. And then coming up, we have another program with you, Tracey, more sessions, 3 live sessions with you. And there's also an option for someone to get a personal session where you can go deeper and activate them, initiate them one-on-one. Talk a little bit about the special offer webinar series coming up. You're actually going to be broadcasting that from Mount Shasta and the Lemurian.
I know, right? So root chakra of the planet. I mean, the timing's impeccable. I'm holding a retreat at Shasta during that week anyway. So I'm going to be primed in terms of being able to initiate those who join us online. And oh my goodness, I just love the initiations and the downloads and the upgrades that the listener and the participant can actually access. So my work is hugely metaphysical. So it's a live metaphysical experience, which despite how far away you are, I am a legitimate quantum teacher. And so you experience transformation, awakening, evolution taking place, but in the comfort of your own home. And the initiations, again, they have that quantum essence. So we're not just looking at what happens in the online series, we're looking at the initiations and the upgrades that are taking place preceding and then after these online initiations. So it's going to be quite a powerful online course. The avatar training shares metaphysics, awakening, evolution, transformation. I mean, you name it, I cover it. And I work hugely comprehensively with my clients because my background in this is extremely extensive. So I'm an authority not just in one area, I'm an authority on so many different levels. So it really does make for a very different experience in terms of online training.
Yes, it's very different. It's so high vibrational. You will feel a shift. I love how you've referred to dimensional shifts throughout this quantum conversation. And in a nutshell, when we are able to release ourselves from that false matrix then and heal those wounds and become whole again and clear that so that we can be in a higher vibration with our words, with everything, that brings forward contact to a whole new level. And we are the crowd, we are the group. So that is beautiful. Thank you for that.
And what I just wanted to add, because I'm in Mount Shasta, then of course we're going to have geographical attunement, so root chakra attunement too. So again, being able to experience direct with me the stargates that are the technologies of our times. You know, this is hugely important. Our sacred earth, the gateways of our sacred planet. What I was just going to also mention is in terms of the planetary grid, once we're home, then we can time travel. And that's kind of interesting too. So then we can really drive ourselves at some speed in terms of our evolution and the dimensional shifts. So what we can achieve in one lifetime could potentially be extraordinary. And then we are in the avatar, and we are in genius, and we are in contribution.
Yes. Yes, and we are in service, and we are playing the role that we came here to play and actually serve. So beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you, Tracey. All right. Well, our show on QCTV is coming to a close, but I want to invite people to check out bit.ly/QCTV membership, because that is going to be an after party. Tracey's going to hang out with me for a little while here on our Zoom audience, and I'm actually going to ask her about the dimensional beings that she watches, she waits for, she listens for, and she actually receives information from. So that's going to be interesting. Join us coming up right now on our Zoom room here on QCTV. And so I want to talk a little bit right now about the New Earth community that will get you into the after party with Tracey and I tonight. There are two levels. One is a New Earth ambassador. This is for serious New Earth creators, serious only, right? So if you really want to be stepping forward into your role, but you need that encouragement, and you need someone or some people to bounce these ideas off, or just to receive the support and ideas and the networking, then that is beautiful, because we come together in mastermind webinars every month. So check that out. And then, of course, we have a basic level, which is a New Earth creator. There's nothing basic about that, because that gets you into all of our QCTV after parties, where you can ask your questions and share your ascension experience, share your New Earth experience. So we invite you all to join us. We're going to be staying on our Zoom room after we end this broadcast, so you can join us there. All right. Well, Tracey, thank you so much for this Quantum Conversation TV episode. I'm so glad to join you and connect with you once again. You've actually got a beautiful event coming up on really soon here in Mount Shasta. Share with us what that is.
Okay, we have Avatars of the Earth gathering, and it is held on the mountain, so Mount Shasta Ski Park, and it's a gathering, it's a community. So we have incredible teachers and speakers and influencers flying in from Japan, some of the finest experts in the US as well. So everyone who's been invited has been personally invited by me, and because I've worked alongside them or spoke alongside them, or I have massive respect for their work. And then it's all set into a landscape of music and artists, all with a conscious message. And you come dressed as your avatar and ready to be activated by the root chakra of the planet. And we're going to be doing ceremonies in terms of Mount Shasta and Mount Fuji. So we're really going to ramp up the planetary grid. We have Chief Black Fox coming too, and he is a direct descendant of Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse. So we're really super honored to have Chief Black Fox joining us in ceremonies. He's also going to, I think, join us on my retreat too. So yeah, we have a Moto Foundation also. So cutting edge and real guiding lights in terms of evolution and the planetary grid. And it's key that people get to the right information.
Yes. Well, beautiful work that you're doing. Thank you so much for this light warriorship. You are a spiritual warrior and a true avatar. I just have to ask, what does your avatar uniform look like? Or you got your scepters there? Show us your scepter.
I do. I have my scepters. I've got my wonderful wands. They will possibly be part of a costume. I actually have, I've got an antique costume. It's a samurai. So I believe I will possibly go as a female, a woman samurai. And then I also have a couple of other things. I think also I may go as Amaterasu or Mikami, who is, let's just say, she's a solar goddess of Japan, and she is just like Isis.
Okay. Perfect for you. Awesome. Thank you for being a great avatar and for sharing with us today in this quantum conversation. Tracey, as we say goodbye, the message of inspiration then that caps off our show.
I would absolutely love your listeners to utilize a mantra on a day-to-day basis, as in gratitude in terms of the old world and gratitude in terms of the new world. So you're welcoming in the new whilst honoring and indeed thanking what has been our past. So yeah, so we're really working with that, being pivotal. And that embodiment also allows us to take full responsibility for the journey we've made and full responsibility for the journey that humanity has made also. So we have gratitude and forgiveness, and that's all part of us stepping into the next phase of evolution.
Yes, that's a dimensional shift right there when we can embrace our history instead of fighting it or ignoring it with the false matrix. So thank you.
It's hugely important. Yeah.
Well, we will see you on our 3-part webinar series coming up very soon here. Tracey's special offer is available at bit.ly/Tracey offer. And that's Tracey with a TRACEY, Tracey offer at bit.ly. Thank you, Tracey. This has been so beautiful. And I'm just so happy that we had this time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
And thank you too, everyone. Please join us for our after party if you wish. And we will see you in the Zoom room. You can hang out with us and ask Tracey your question. All right. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you. Now it's time to dance our way to the cosmic heart. Here we go. Thank you, everyone. Have fun. Bye-bye. See, you can see how it works here. All right. All right, we'll see you on the QCTV after party. Come and join us. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Galey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe. Music literally created by the universe, as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music, available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.